Hello, my name's Daryl Wildberg, and I am a Jehovah's Witness in good standing. And this video is not approved by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. It's not approved by the 8 faithful members of that governing body located in Warwick, New York, to take the lead among the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are not leaders. Nor is it approved by any local body of elders. I approve this video, and I work for Jesus Christ. I don't work for any man. The question that this video today is going to address is, was Christ hung on a cross? To many millions of people, the answer to this question seems as simple as the 3-letter word yes. To serious students of both ancient history and the Bible, the answer is even simpler. As simple as the 2-letter word no. But two answers as far apart as these open up between them a great gulf that all truth seekers must be able to bridge in order to stand on the solid ground of truth. It is common knowledge in this enlightened age that the Bible was not first set down in English. Consequently, to settle the question as to whether Christ was hung on a cross or not, it is necessary to consult the original Hebrew and the Greek languages in which the Bible was written. By God's grace, manuscript copies of the original accounts, some of which copies date back to within 50 years of the originals, are available to scholars. Besides these, the original words are defined and explained in dictionaries or lexicons written in modern English, if that is the only language you read. And in addition, there are dependable encyclopedias, histories, etc., to which reference can be made. The Catholic Digest magazine, May 1948, page 108, had the following to say on the subject of the cross. Long before the birth of Christ, the cross was a religious symbol. From the site of the ancient Troy disc of baked clay stamped with a cross were recently discovered. Two similar objects were found at Herculaneum. The Aztecs of ancient Mexico carved the cross on amulets, pottery, and temple walls. Many traces of the use of the cross by Northern American Indians have been discovered. Buddhists of Tibet see in the cross a mark of the footprint of Buddha. The Mongolians draw a cross on paper and place it on the hearts of their dead. Egyptian inscriptions often have the Tau, or the T, capital T, cross. They considered the scarab beetle sacred because markings down the back and across the thorax form a T. A cross of this form was used as a support for the arms of Hindu ascetics in India, who were wont to sit for days and nights in Buddha-like attitude. The crux, ansata, handled cross, has a loop serving as a circle. For the Egyptians, this cross was a symbol of life, and in their sign language meant to live. See also the Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 4, page 517, the footnote on pages 312, 313 of Gibbon's History of Christianity, Eckler's edition, 1891. You're going to hear my dog out there barking, probably barking at a deer. But how was the cross a symbol of life to the pagans? Well, a father, the male, is life giver to the children by and through the mother. Hence, those sex-worshipping pagans, under the inspiration of the devil and his demons, constructed a phallic image of the erected male genitive organ, with a crossbar towards one end to represent the testes. Carrying the symbolism a step further in the crux ansata, the loop on the top, which pious religionists choose to describe as a handle, represented the female genitive organ, joined to the masculine symbol. That these diabolical facts are true, see the following references. Funeral Tent of an Egyptian Queen by Villars Stewart. Masculine Cross, and Ancient Sex Worship by Shah Rocco. Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop. Essays on the Worship of Priapus by Richard Payne Knight. A reference to the original language in which the Bible was written will show beyond a question of a doubt that Christ was never hung on any pagan cross. Hence, the use of the word cross in the English language Bibles is a mistranslation. On this, the New World Translation of the Christian Greek Scriptures, in its appendix on page 768 through 771, and commenting on Matthew 10:38, where the Greek word staros first appears, and which is translated cross in most Bibles, states, "This is the expression used in connection with the execution of Jesus at Calvary. There is no evidence that the Greek word staros meant here a cross, such as the pagans used as a religious symbol for many centuries before Christ to denote the sun god. On the ancient sculptures of Egypt may be seen representation of their gods bearing the so-called crux ansata, a T, capital T, cross with a loop at the top, it being the phallic symbol of life. In Babylonian inscriptions, Tammuz was signified by a heart from which sprang the single or a double cross. India, Syria, Persia, as well as Babylon and ancient Egypt have all yielded objects marked with crosses of various designs, including the swastika among the early Aryans. This betrays the worship of the cross to be pagan. In the classical Greek, the word staros meant merely an upright stake or pale or pile, such as is used for foundation. The verb staros meant to fence with pales, to form a stockade or palisade. And this is the verb used when the mob called for Jesus to be impaled. To make a stake or pale the person to be punished was fastened. Just as when the popular Greek hero Prometheus was represented as tied to a stake or staros. The Greek word which the dramatist Silas used to describe this means to fasten or fix on a pole or stake to impale, and the Greek author Lucian used anastaperio as a synonym for that word. In the Christian Greek scriptures, anastario occurs but once at Hebrews 6:6. The root verb staro occurs more than 40 times, and we have rendered it impale with a footnote or fasten on a stake or pole. I think impale there is the wrong word they should use, because impale signifies something run up through somebody, but this is an older excerpt. The inspired writers of the Christian Greek scriptures wrote in the common Koine Greek, or Koine Greek, and used the word staros to mean the same thing as in the classical Greek, namely a stake or pale, a simple one without a crossbeam of any kind or in any angle. There is no proof to the contrary. The apostles Peter and Paul also used the word xylon to refer to the torture instrument upon which Jesus was nailed, and this argues that it was upright stake without a crossbeam, for that is what xylon in this special sense means. Acts 5:30, Acts 10:39, Acts 13:29, Galatians 3:13, 1 Peter 2:24. At Ezra 6:11, we find xylon in the Greek Septuagint, and it is spoken of as a beam on which the violator of law was to be hanged. The same as at Luke 23:39, Acts 5:30, and Acts 10:39. The fact that Staros is translated crux in the Latin versions furnishes no argument against this. Any authoritative Latin dictionary will inform the examiner that the basic meaning of crux is a tree, frame, or other wooden instrument of execution on which criminals were impaled or hanged. Lewis Short. A cross is only a later meaning of crux. Excuse me. Even in the writings of Livy, a Roman historian of the 1st century BC, a crux means a mere stake, such as single stake or impalement of a criminal was called crux simplex, and the method of nailing him to such an instrument of torture is illustrated by Roman Catholic scholar Justus Lepsius of the 16th century. We present herewith a photographic copy of his illustration on page 64, but you don't have the book, so you can't see that. Religious tradition from the days of Emperor Constantine proves nothing, says that monthly publication for the Roman Catholic clergy in the Ecclesiastical Review of September 1920, number 3 of Baltimore, Maryland, page 275. It may be safely asserted that only after the Edict of Milan, AD 312, was the cross used as a permanent sign of our redemption. De Rossi positively states that no monogram of Christ discovered in the catacombs or other places can be traced to a period superior to the year 312. Even after that epoch-making year, the Church, then free and triumphant, centered herself with having a simple monogram of Christ. The Greek letter chi, vertically crossed by rho, the Greek letter chi, vertically crossed by rho, and horizontally sometimes by an iota. The oldest crucifix mentioned as an object of public worship is the one venerated in the Church of Narbonne in southern France as early as the 6th century. After showing the pagan origin of the cross, the Encyclopedia Britannica, Volume 7 of Edition 11, page 506, says this: "It was not until the time of Constantine that the cross was publicly used as a symbol of Christian religion. But that was but logical, for Emperor Constantine was a worshipper of the pagan god the pagan sun god, or Tammuz, whose symbol was a cross. Other experts have pointed out that before the 4th century, the cross was not used as a Christian emblem in the East any more than in the West. Rather than consider the torture stake upon which Jesus was executed a relic to the would-be worship, the Jewish Christians, like Simon Peter, would consider it to be an abominable thing. At Galatians 3:13, the Apostle Paul quotes Deuteronomy 21:23 and says, "It is written, accursed is every man hanged upon a stake." Hence, the Jewish Christians would hold as accursed and hateful the stake upon which Jesus had been executed, says a celebrated Jewish authority. Moses, Maimonides of the 20th century. They never hang upon a tree which clings to the soil by roots, but upon a timber uprooted. That is, that it might not be an annoying plague. For a timber upon which anyone has been hanged is buried, that the evil name may not remain with it, and people should say, "This is the timber on which so-and-so was hanged." So the stone with which anyone has been stoned, and the sword with which the one killed has been killed, and the cloth or mantle with which anyone has been strangled, all these things are buried along with those who perished. I'm not even going to try to mention that. Consequently, since a man hanged was considered the greatest abomination, the Jews also hated more than other things the timber on which he had been hanged. So they covered it also with earth, as being equally an abominable thing. The evidence is therefore completely lacking that Jesus Christ was crucified on 2 pieces of timber placed at a right angle. We refuse to add anything to God's written word by inserting the pagan cross into the inspired scriptures. but render stauros and xylon according to the simplest meanings, since Jesus used stauros to represent the suffering and shame or torture of his followers. Matthew 16:24. We have translated stauros as torture stake to distinguish it from xylon, which we have translated stake, or in the footnote tree, as at Acts 5:30. The gulf of speculation having been bridged, Christians today stand on solid ground of provable facts when they emphatically declare that Christ was never hung on a pagan cross of phallic design.